Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia, and it is currently, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's 5 days? Day 5 without football. All right. I want to send a little personal shout out to the San Francisco 49ers for extending quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, giving me something to talk about on this first segment. All right, they did me a favor here. So I want to be talking about Jimmy G for this first segment, talk about his extension, talk about what I think of it, and talk about pretty much anything else that has to do with it, whether it be Kirk Cousins getting more money, whether it be a guy like Aaron Rodgers getting extended, whether it be the Patriots making a massive mistake for trading this guy. I don't know. We're going to talk about a bunch of it. All right, so we're going to be doing that. And then it's going to be like a free agency type of show today. Okay, we're going to be talking about the top free agent quarterbacks, talk about where they could end up, talk about teams you could use them. We're going to talk about, in the second segment, we're going to be doing that. Third segment, we'll be talking about the top free agent running backs. I got a little something to say about running backs, all right? The top free agent running backs, it's not looking like that nice of a class this year, all right? We'll be doing that, and as you could tell, we'll be talking about the top free agent wide receivers in the fourth segment, so it's going to be like a free agency special, okay? So we'll be doing that. So you know what? Let's just get into it. Let's talk about Jimmy G, all right? The guy got a 5-year, $137.5 million extension, all right? And I've been seeing people on the Twitter sphere, all right, and a couple of analysis talking about, is it analysis or is it analysts? Yeah, I think analysts. All right, yeah, so a couple of analysis to be correct, talking about how the 49ers gave him way too much money, they overpaid, how, just pretty much the basic stuff you got to say when you're trying to not like something. The guy only played 8 games, you're paying him way too much, how are you going to pay a guy who's never played a full season, yada, 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 all right? So this is how contracts work in the NFL, for those that don't know. All right, you don't pay a guy for what he's done, because that's in the past, all right? You pay a guy for what he could do for you, and you also pay him what the market tells you, okay? This is something I've learned during my time here doing the podcast, all right? You don't pay him for what he's worth. Now you pay him for what he's worth, what he's going to be worth, what he's going to be doing for you, and then you pay him pretty much what the market says you pay him, all right? That's why a guy like Jarvis Landry, all right, believe it or not, you got to pay around $14 million a year, even though he didn't put up too many yards, because of the fact you got guys like Demaryius Thomas and T.Y. Hilton, who put up lesser stats than him this season, are making $14 million, all right? That's how it works. All right, Jimmy G, there's a shortage of quarterbacks. Don't forget that. All right, and the first one that comes up, and let's put it into perspective, okay? Let's go look at the San Francisco 49ers schedule, okay? Week 1, Carolina Panthers lost, lose 23-3. Seahawks, week 2, lost 12-9. Los Angeles Rams lost 41-39. Cardinals lost 18-15. Colts lost 26-23. Redskins lost 26-24. Cowboys lost 40-10. Man, that game was brutal. I remember watching that one. Brutal. All right, Eagles lost 33-10. Cardinals lost 20-10. Giants win 31-21. All right, Seahawks lost 24-13. Let me see 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so Jimmy G, I believe, came in against the Giants. All right, let me see. Actually, when did he come in? I know this team went 6-10. All right, let me see. Actually, that was C.J. Beathard. All right, I forget. He's the one who got him their first win. So Jimmy G went 5-0 this season. Okay, so let me go back to it right here and make my point still. All right, so let's see. They beat the Giants. That was a surprise, actually, too. I thought Jimmy G is the one who got them all their wins. But, yeah, they beat the Giants. And then They lose to the Seahawks the week after. Then Jimmy G makes a start against the Bears. All right, win 15-14. Second start, win 26-16 against the Texans. Then against the Titans, win 25-23. And then here's the game of all games for Jimmy Garoppolo, all right, against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 1 defense in the NFL, and the dude puts up 44 on them, pulls out the win, 44-33. All right, then against the Rams, Week 17, they did sit their starters, but nonetheless, a win, 34-13. Do you see the difference there? Do you see what Jimmy Garoppolo did there? Do you see that? All right. So, he's a pretty good quarterback if I say so. Okay? I know he's only played 7-8 games. Nonetheless, dude has looked good in all of them. Okay? Don't hate on it. That's a good contract they're giving him. I think all the money is front-loaded for the first 3 years too, so on the back end of that contract, they go sign other people, and Jimmy Garoppolo will still have his money. And let's put it this way, okay? Who do you think the happiest person is? You think it's Jimmy Garoppolo? Probably not. There's someone out there that's extremely happy, a whole lot happier about Jimmy Garoppolo's contract than Jimmy Garoppolo is about his contract. All right? That man's name is Captain Kirk Cousins, okay? First name is not Captain, but it's Kirk Cousins. That guy's going to get paid, absolutely paid this offseason. Going to get more than what Jimmy G's getting, all right? And if I'm being real here, if I had to give someone that kind of money, whether it be Jimmy G or Kirk Cousins, you know who I'm picking? I'm picking Jimmy Garoppolo. All right? I seen what he could do. Okay? You got to look past the starts and the stats. All right? You got to look past all that. Look how he moves in the pocket. Look at his accuracy. Look at his arm strength. Okay? Look at his leadership. Checks the box in all 4 of those things. All right? And I'm not no scout or anything like that. I'm just telling you just off the top of my head what I think about it. All right? So you can take it with a grain of salt or you can listen to me. Either way, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. But nonetheless, yeah, I'd pay Jimmy Garoppolo way more than I'd ever pay Kirk Cousins. Jimmy Garoppolo's a whole lot younger, has a lot more upside, and I think we know what we're getting with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins isn't a bad quarterback either. I'm not trying to say that, all right? Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. I think he's going to end up with Cleveland, Denver, or New York. Hopefully it's either Cleveland or Denver because I think those are the best situations for him to go to. If he ends up with Denver, that's a playoff team. If he ends up with Cleveland, that's a 7-win team off the bat. Believe it or not. That's my bold prediction, right? With Kirk Cousins, that's a 7-win team. They draft a rookie, then I don't know. I'm not too fond of that team. But either way, Kirk Cousins makes that team a 7-win team off the bat before the draft, right? But getting back to Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, this is what San Francisco needed to do, all right? People were saying, oh, we paid him too much, shouldn't have paid him this much, shouldn't have did that, should have franchised. You franchise him, you're paying him about $34 million for the year, all right? I think it's 34, and then if you transition tag him, it's 28. It might be switched around, but either way, you're paying him that amount of money, okay? Now with the contract that you gave him, you're paying him about $27.5 million yearly. Obviously, that's not pretty much how it's going to be. The contract, like I said, is front-loaded for the first 3 years, I believe it is. So I think for the first 3 years, he'll be making like $84 million in total. All right, and then he'll get the rest of it after that. So for the next 2 years, obviously. So, I mean, I like the contract. I like what they did. John Lynch needed to do a job, and he did the job. John Lynch has done well so far in his tenure as a GM. Okay, I'm not going to lie. When the 49ers hired John Lynch to be their GM, I think they gave him a 6-year contract, I think. I was laughing. I was hysterical. Ha, 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 ha. You gave a safety. Yeah, you gave a safety 6 years to run your team. All right? Dude has been in the booth since he retired. 6 years to run your team. And John Lynch has been laughing right back in my face ever since then. And you know what? I can't help but say I was wrong. At least so far, I was wrong. I mean, if he's out here doing this, I mean, he's going to end up being a good GM for that 49ers team. I know it's only been about a year and a few weeks or whatever, but nonetheless, the dude's done a good job. He's, all right, he's helped bring in young players to build up teams. He's already got his franchise quarterback. Well, yeah, he does have his franchise quarterback. I can't say it's looking like because that is their franchise quarterback, whether he plays well or whether he plays bad. All right, he's not going anywhere for 5 years. All right, so you know what? Congrats, John Lynch, for that. Got Kyle Shanahan, one of the best young and up-and-coming coaches in the league. All right. Dude looks like he knows what he's doing. When Jimmy Garoppolo came out there, the offense was flowing freely. All right. CJ Beathard, I mean, I feel bad for the guy, okay? The dude wasn't, like, bad with the 49ers. I mean, the dude just took a huge beating on that team. But he's going to be a nice little solid backup quarterback for them, okay? Now the 49ers, all they got to do is just build around him. All right? Build around Garoppolo. Got to get your running back. Whether it be bringing back Carlos Hyde, and we'll talk about him in the third segment, all right, whether it be bringing him back, maybe trying to trade up for a guy like Saquon Barkley, or drafted a running back within the 3rd to 4th to 5th round, probably around there. All right. I think in the first round, they're going to be going quarterback at that number 9 spot, or maybe, you just build up the linebacking corps even more. Maybe draft Roquan Smith. They draft Roquan Smith. My gosh, dude. Him and Reuben Foster would be disgusting. Even Tremaine Edwards from Virginia Tech, right? He's more of like a free roam type of guy. That'd be even good too. All right. So you go like Josh Jackson, I think his name is, from Iowa. Denzel Ward from Ohio State, I think his name is, or you could go with either the 2 linebackers. All right. I think that's what they do with the first pick with the 9th pick, I should say, in the first round. But other than that, I think after that, you got to go receiver, you got to go running back throughout the draft. Or really not throughout the draft, but I mean, you got to spend your earlier picks on that, I think. You got to start building up the offense around Jimmy Garoppolo and start giving him more weapons to work with, all right? I do like Marquise Goodwin. Don't think he's a number 1. Pierre Garçon, don't think he's a number 1 either, even though he was playing well. Give Jimmy Garoppolo that true number 1 guy, all right? That way, I know he played poorly this season, but I'm talking about like how Derek Carr, he got Amari Cooper, all right? He's got Amari Cooper. Phillip Rivers has his Keenan Allen. Like those type of guys. Like those guys, like that's the number 1 receiver right there. That's his guy, all right? No matter who else you got, all right? Because, I mean, Phillip Rivers has Tyrell Williams, guys like Hunter Henry and all that. But unless Keenan Allen's that guy, all right? Derek Carr still has Michael Crabtree, Seth Roberts, and all that. But you know what? Amari Cooper is the guy, all right? Jimmy Garoppolo needs his guy on that team, all right? Fix up the offensive line. And like I said, just go get a running back. And then the defense is already young. You just got to fix up the secondary a bit. And the rest of it's just young and developing, looking good. So the 49ers are in a good spot. So, I mean, good deal for them. I like it. For those of you that don't like the deal, I mean, someone else, all right, let's say that the 49ers did not give Jimmy Garoppolo all this money. All right, so you know what? We're not going to pay that much. Jimmy Garoppolo looks around. Someone is going to give him the deal the San Francisco 49ers gave him easily. All right? Again, you got to think. Quarterbacks are getting worse in this league, okay? There's going to be a time where Roethlisberger's gone, Manning is gone, Brady's gone. Let's see, who else? Who else is old? Brees is gone. I think there's one more other quarterback that's going to be retiring soon, within the next 2 to 3 years. I can't remember who else. I mean, that just might have been the guys right there that you can name. All right, there's going to be a point where Aaron Rodgers, as he should be, he probably already is now, the most talented, best quarterback in the league. But there's going to be a point where Matt Ryan is a top 5 quarterback. All right, Matt Ryan isn't even a top 5 quarterback now. Think about it. All right, Matt Ryan is good. I don't know. I'm not sure if he's great. This year he had a down year. All right, there's going to be a time where guys like that are top 5 quarterbacks. So you got to go out, and if you think you got a guy, then you go out and you lock him up. All right? Eagles are lucky because they got Wentz. Eagles got even luckier because they had Nick Foles. All right? Nick Foles is going to be worth a first-round pick. Someone is going to give up a first-round pick for Nick Foles to have him on their team just because teams are so desperate for quarterbacks now. So the 49ers already solved their problem. Now they get to go out and pretty much build around the team, and believe it or not, Jimmy Garoppolo puts them into playoff contention already. All right? I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs or anything like that, but he puts them into contention, all right? They could miss out on the playoffs this year, but as long as they're like a 8-8 team, 9-7 team, that's already a plus from what they were last year. So they just got to hope to get better. And as far as the Patriots, man, they really dropped the ball as far as trading him. I don't care what it takes to I don't care if Tom Brady wants to be there for 2 more years. You find a way to make Jimmy Garoppolo there long term, whether it's giving him a big time contract, all right? Bill Belichick knew what he had in Jimmy Garoppolo, and I'm not sure if that ESPN article was correct that Seth Wickersham put out about, I think it was the week before the AFC divisional game, about how Belichick wanted to keep him, but Kraft told him to trade him. All right, either way, whatever they did there, they messed up big time. All right, Belichick knew what he had, and he only gave him up for a second-round pick. All right, and I know hindsight is 20/20, and I know at the time I was killing the 49ers a bit for giving up a second-round pick for the guy who's only played a couple of games, but nonetheless, like I said, hindsight of 20/20, but nonetheless, Bill Belichick knew what he was giving up. I didn't know what Bill Belichick was giving up. Bill Belichick knew, and it's not going to, they're going to have a problem now. You're not going to be able to find a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, and they don't just grow on trees to take over for Tom Brady. So we'll see how it all ends up, but nonetheless, I mean, I like the deal for the 49ers. So that's all I got to say about that. All right. So we're going to wrap up this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about the top free agent quarterbacks and talk about where they could end up. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. In that first segment, we talked about Jimmy Garoppolo getting his 5-year, $137.5 million deal, and what that means for Kirk Cousins. Pretty much talked about anything it has to do with anything else. All right, good move for the 49ers. I like it. And now for this segment, we're going to be talking about the top, or pretty much for the rest of the show, we're going to be talking about the top free agents at each position. We're going to spend this segment talking about quarterbacks. So let's get into it. All right, I was looking at the quarterbacks list, and it's not that. It's pretty decent, I guess you could say. You got Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins, all right, Case Keenum, A.J. McCarron, who's a restricted free agent, but I don't think that he's going to be with the Bengals after this offseason. I think he's going to end up going somewhere else. Then you got Teddy Bridgewater, and then you got guys like little stopgap guys who could fill in for you got guys who could fill in till your rookie quarterback is ready to start. All right, you got guys like Sam Bradford, Josh McCown, maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick if you're bold. You got guys like Matt Moore who are good backups. And let's see, after that, who do we got left? Not too many. Maybe you got like Blaine Gabbert maybe. I mean, he did well with Arizona for a tiny bit. That's a nice little stopgap guy there. And then the rest are all just backup quarterbacks, I guess you could say. Yeah, just backup quarterbacks there. All right, so we're going to talk a bit about a few of the quarterbacks, okay? Let's talk about Drew Brees first, all right? So Drew Brees seems like he wants to go back to the Saints. And it seems like the Saints want him. But they're going to have to pay him some money. Okay? And looking at it right now, I know there's still time for teams to shed cap space and all that, cut some players and all that stuff. Let's see. The Saints currently have nearly $33 million in cap space. Okay? From what I saw listening to Adam Schefter talking about Jimmy Garoppolo and his contract, Jimmy Garoppolo made $27.5 million. Okay? He's saying that's going to help Drew Brees. I was thinking, no way that helps Drew Brees. Okay, I'm not paying Drew Brees 2 years, $60 million. Okay, I'm talking from what the Saints are saying they want to do. Okay, obviously, if what Adam Schefter is saying is true, is that Drew Brees is going to be getting that type of money. I mean, just think about it. The Saints say they don't want to give him a long-term deal or anything like that. They want to go year to year, 2 years to 1 year, and all that stuff. All right. So you want to pay Drew Brees all that money, you're going to have to give him 2 years, at least $60 million, so that's $30 million a year right there. Do you really want to give that to Drew Brees? All right. And you know what? If I'm the Saints, I'm not sure if I want to. It's probably going to have to be around maybe $28 million, like a tiny bit more than $27.5 million, all right? Because like I said, Drew Brees is 39. Thinking about it in football terms, all right, you're not going to give a 39-year-old quarterback $30 million a year, are you? You might have to if you're the Saints, but I don't think that Drew Brees is locked down completely to the Saints. All right, there's a couple other teams out there that could maybe steal him. All right, how about the Minnesota Vikings? All right, currently got $53 million in cap space. All right, no quarterbacks under contract. All of them are unrestricted free agents. Drew Brees' name with the Vikings has popped up, not by any big riders, but it's popped up, all right? It's been a name that's came up in the air as far as the Vikings. The Vikings are a team that's ready to win now. The only thing that's really held them back is quarterback, all right? Case Keenum had a nice little year. Not sure what he's going to be after this year. Teddy Bridgewater blew his knee to shreds that 1 year, right? Not sure if he's going to be the same quarterback. And then Sam Bradford is just pretty much a walking bag of glass. So if I'm the Vikings, I can outbid the Saints. All right, Drew Brees could come play for me. He didn't need to do everything there. All right? We already got a defense he could play behind. better yet, a defense that's already better than the one he's got in New Orleans. Okay, and you got Dalvin Cook coming back. Offensive line improved this year, and then you still got Stephon Diggs, Kyle Rudolph, and Adam Thielen you could throw to. All right, it wouldn't be far off if I think for Drew Brees to go to a team like Minnesota and it work out there. All right, and before this, I started this segment, I was talking to Tate, the guy that runs the thing. He's been on the show. He's been on the show before. I think, what was on the show before? I think it was before the championship or right after the championship weekend. All right, he was telling me about how he's got this little plan about what the Browns should do. Browns currently got $110 million in cap space. He was telling me that, you know what? If you're crazy, you could throw $40 million at Drew Brees around there, $37 million. All right, Saints can't compete with that. Tell Drew Brees, come be our quarterback for about 4 years. Give him a 3-year deal with a team option for the 4th. All right, front load all that money in the first couple of years on the deal. So that way, when Drew Brees is he's 39 right now. So he lasts 3 years, it'll be 42. All right, you draft a quarterback this year, whether it be with the 4th pick or whatever, even later on in the draft in the 2nd, 3rd rounds, because they're gonna have a lot of picks in theirs. By the time Drew Brees is done, then you got that quarterback to go and take over for him. And like I said, if you front load the deal and pay him all his money up front, then how you say, then you don't got to worry about cutting him and paying him a bunch of money after that because you already paid him most of the money. So I mean, that's a plan that could work there. Plus, this is all hypotheticals. Again, this is Tate's idea right here. All right, but let's say that they do get Drew Brees. I mean, that's a playoff team right there. You got Josh Gordon, who is going to be a free agent, but there is a way that the Browns could keep him. All right, you could draft Saquon Barkley. You could draft, I think it's Quentin Nelson, I think his name is, from the guard from Notre Dame. I'm not completely sure if that's what his name is, but I know the guard from Notre Dame is going to be a top 10 pick. All right. Plus, you could spend the rest of your picks on defense. Like I said, you go get that quarterback that could take over for Drew Brees after. I mean, it sounds crazy. It probably won't happen, but it's a deal that makes sense, all right, as far as what Cleveland does, okay? You win now, and then eventually, when that quarterback is ready to come in, boom, you throw him in. All right, like I said, the Saints, he's probably, if I had to put my money on it, he'll probably end up with the Saints, but you got to watch out for a team that's like, you know what? Why don't we just go and throw a bunch of money at Drew Brees and see what he wants to do? All right, you only need him for a couple of years, and like I said, you just see what he wants to do. So, I mean, those are some possibilities for Drew Brees there. Again, personally, I wouldn't pay Drew Brees all that money, but there's going to be a team that does. All right, whether it be the Saints or whether it be maybe the Vikings or probably even possibly, like I said, the Browns. So we'll see about that. Then you got Kirk Cousins as the next free agent who's going to get paid. The guy's 30 years old. All right, he's getting paid for sure. Okay, Jimmy Garoppolo set the parameters for pretty much the minimum of what Kirk Cousins is going to get. He's going to get $30 million. Let me see. Who's got the most cap space between the 3 teams I think that could get him? All right, the Browns got 110, like I said. Then the Jets, they got $79 million in cap space. Then Denver, where are you at, Denver? You got $25 million. All right, but if you cut or if you trade Aqib Talib, that brings you up to $36 million. So you could pay him around $32 million for this year. All right, for the start. Obviously, the cap space switches up year to year. Plus, you make a couple other moves. Denver is fine. All right, they're a little strong option for Kirk Cousins, okay? But the Browns, if they want Kirk Cousins, all they got to do is just outbid everyone. That's it. That's all you got to do, okay? Same with the Jets. If it's coming down to the Jets and the Broncos, all you got to do is just outbid the Broncos, all right? Now that I look at it, the Broncos got to shed a bunch of cap space just to be able to pay him this year, unless they pay him a little bit this year and they pay him a bunch towards the back end of his contract for the Broncos. So, I mean, it could happen, but nonetheless, like now that I look at the cap space for each team right now, I mean, the Browns got the most. The Browns make the most sense as far as if Kirk Cousins wants to get paid, all right? And the Browns have to be a team that they're going to be talking to Kirk Cousins, all right? If they don't, then that's just ridiculous, and that's not doing your due diligence there. You got to at least see what chance you have with a guy like that, all right? Browns are currently, their average age on that team is 24 years, youngest team in the league, I think. Let me see. I think the Rams are the youngest. Nope. Browns got him beat right there by a tiny percentage point as far as age, I guess you could say, because it's like 24.69 or something like that for the Browns as far as average age, 24.59 as far as the average age. The Rams are currently 24.78. So, yeah, Browns are slightly younger, I guess, than average age, but nonetheless, I mean, you don't got to pay all those guys till a few more years from now, so you could pay a guy like Kirk Cousins. Like I said, I'll bid for him, and I'll bid over the Jets, and I'll bid over the Broncos if you truly wanted him. It's just a matter of if Kirk Cousins wants to go to Cleveland, and you know what, if I'm Kirk Cousins, I just want to get paid, so Cleveland didn't sound too bad to me. All right, so yeah, you got to worry about a guy like Kirk Cousins there. Let's see who else is a free agent quarterback. Then you got guys like right there, Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Bradford. What's going to go on with them? All right, Case Keenum, is that guy just a one-hit wonder, or is he a guy that can sustain what he did this year? All right, I think it might have had to do more Pat Shurmur fixing him and pretty much making him look good. All right, Pat Shurmur's with the Giants now, and it's looking like they're either going Eli or they're going to go Eli, and they're going to draft a quarterback probably, unless they go with Saquon Barkley with that number 2 pick. All right, so Case Keenum, I don't really see much else for him anywhere else. I think he's a Minnesota Viking next year. I think they're going to end up franchising him, and I saw, too, a little article saying that they could just re-sign Teddy Bridgewater and Case Keenum and probably just have him fight for the starting job for week 1. Okay? I really don't buy into the hype for Case Keenum. I don't really think that he's going to be able to replicate what he did this season. If he does, that's great, but like I said, I'd put my money on him not, at least taking a dip down in his stats and pretty much in his play this year. Teddy Bridgewater, there's not much else for him out there either besides being a stopgap quarterback for a team who needs to pretty much groom their little young quarterback, their rookie quarterback. Okay, Teddy Bridgewater, I'm not sure what it did or what happened or how it happened, but his value like just really dropped. All right. There was talk about Mike Zimmer possibly starting him instead of Case Keenum early on in the season when he came back, and it just never happened. And I feel like after now the season's over, like Teddy Bridgewater's value just plummeted. All right, I don't think anyone out there really values him as a guy who could be a starting quarterback for a team and lead them or anything like that. If Teddy Bridgewater is going anywhere, it needs to be to a team who's already got their roster set up, and they just need a quarterback to go in and not do too much. Pretty much like an Alex Smith type, and Alex Smith is even better than Teddy Bridgewater so far, I guess you could say, even though we've only seen Teddy for 2 years. So, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, he might even end up back in Minnesota too. As for AJ McCarron, maybe he could end up with a team like Buffalo. Possibly. He's a restricted free agent. I mean, let's see. What does Buffalo got currently in cap space? Buffalo, let's see. Where are you guys at? I'm not sure that they have. All right, so there's 16 right now. They got 29 million in cap space. Let's see. What about the Bengals? Where are they at as far as cap space? Bengals currently got 36. All right, so about 7 million more than the Bills in cap space. I mean, if I'm the Bengals, I'm not giving AJ McCarron 20 a year to be my quarterback, to be my backup quarterback, I should say. All right, that would be ridiculous. The only way you do that is if you're ready to move on from Andy Dalton, and even then, I'm still not giving AJ McCarron that kind of money. That's Sam Bradford type money right there, and I think the Bills possibly could give that to AJ McCarron and make him their quarterback. All right, actually, you know what? I think that might be it right there. The Buffalo Bills and AJ McCarron. I mean, like I said, they could give him $20 million, still have $9 million left in cap space. You can use that on your rookies and even probably get rid of a couple of people on the defensive side of the ball to create more cap space. So, I mean, AJ McCarron and the Bills doesn't sound too crazy, and I think about it. And even Sam Bradford on the Bills. I mean, he's going to be a guy who he could go to the Bills or he could go to a team like the Cardinals. A team like the Cardinals, I think the Cardinals are going to be trading that number 1 pick, that 14th pick in the draft, in the first round of the draft for a guy like Nick Foles. All right, that's where my money's at right there. But nonetheless, I mean, Sam Bradford would be a fit right there too. I mean, he's just too much of an injury-prone type of quarterback. So, I mean, you're taking your chance there. You're not going to have to pay him more than, 10 to $15 million a year. And he's only going to be there you're only going to give him like a 2-year, $30 million contract probably at the most. So, I mean, that's a quarterback you can look out for right there. As far as guys like Josh McCown, Brian Fitzpatrick, Matt Moore, guys like that, I mean, those are guys that you bring in if, like I said, if you got a rookie quarterback and you're not ready to start on week 1. Josh McCown is the perfect quarterback for that, all right? You do that, you bring him in, boom. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'm not sure. I think he's just a backup now, all right? Truly, yeah. Brian Fitzpatrick, Matt Moore, those are just backup quarterbacks. But there's not really much of a how do you say, place for them right now, I guess. They're going to go to a team, like Matt Moore will go to a team where they already have their established quarterback, and Matt Moore's pretty much like a just nice little insurance policy for that. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a guy who could be a backup quarterback for anyone, and pretty much if you got a rookie quarterback and he's not working out, you throw Fitzpatrick out there, or you throw him ahead of that rookie quarterback till he throws, 6 interceptions in the game like he usually does. All right, Jake Cutler's a free agent, but he's going to be retiring, I think. Let's see. Other quarterbacks. I mean, the rest of the quarterbacks are just backups. Guys like Drew Stan, Tom Savage, Chad Henne, Blaine Gabbert, EJ Manuel, Mark Sanchez. Those are all backup quarterbacks there. So, I mean, not really much of a market for them. David Fales, he's a restricted free agent for the Dolphins. Maybe you'll see him coming back, maybe be the third quarterback there, or even possibly a backup quarterback if they don't draft one in the first round. But other than that, that's how the quarterbacks are looking there. So, like I said, Drew Brees, I think he's going to end up back with the Saints, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with a team like the Vikings too, so we're going to have to wait and see. But let's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking running backs, right? So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. So far on the show, we talked about Jimmy Garoppolo getting his big money deal, talked about the rest of the free agent quarterbacks in the second segment, and for this segment, we're going to be talking about free agent running backs, talk about pretty much each of the top ones, all right? And one thing I noticed right now, I was looking at the cap numbers, the 49ers still have the second most cap space in the league, even with paying Jimmy Garoppolo. That's just crazy to see, all right? Just how pretty much set up they are as far as wanting to pick up free agents and all that. All right, so now let's look at the top free agent running backs. All right, you got Le'Veon Bell, Dion Lewis, Carlos Hyde. Let's see who else we got. Isaiah Crowell, Rex Burkhead, Jerick McKinnon, Alfred Morris, Jeremy Hill, LeGarrette Blount, Thomas Rawls, Orleans Darkwa, and then the rest are just pretty much running back fill-ins. I mean, guys like Jamal Charles, Mike Davis, Christine Michael, pretty much those camp names that you bring in. Darren Sproles is a free agent. Corey Grant, he's a restricted free agent. Maybe they bring him back to back up. The Jaguars bring him back to back up Leonard Fournette. And pretty much, I mean, guys like Kerwin Williams never mind. Kerwin Williams is 36 years old. So, yeah, there's pretty much, like guys like Damian Williams, too, are still out there. Nice little pass-catching backs, but not guys that are going to be starting. There's not too many. These running backs, really, I mean, like, except for I guess there's 4 running backs that could be starters on teams, the first 4 that I mentioned, but then after that, it's pretty much running backs that go to teams like the Seahawks, the Packers, and all that, just to fill in since they don't really like paying running backs for some reason, you know? So let's see. First off, let's start off with Le'Veon Bell. Obviously, best running back in the league. Is he the best running back in the league? Yes, he is the best running back in the league. All right. Steelers are trying to work out a deal with him. Says he doesn't want to play under the franchise tag. So what does that mean? That means the Steelers either got to pay him, or he's not going to be playing for them this season. He could be under the franchise tag, but he said that he's going to think, if they do franchise him, he said that he's going to think about he's going to think about sitting out under this year under the franchise tag. He said he might even retire. So I think the Steelers just have no other option but to pay him. But let's say they don't, and they don't franchise tag him. What happens to Le'Veon Bell there? There's a bunch of teams with a bunch of cap space who need running backs. Like I said, the 49ers have $80 million left in cap space. They could pay Le'Veon Bell and pay Jimmy Garoppolo at the same time. All right. The Jets, $79 million cap space. You could pay Kirk Cousins and get Le'Veon Bell. Colts, they got $79 million cap space still. All right. You could pay Le'Veon Bell there and have Andrew Luck as your quarterback. I mean, the Bucks, they need a running back. They got $63 million cap space. And again, you're not paying these running backs like how you're paying quarterbacks. I got to check what the highest paid running back is. But let me see if I can find that out. No, I cannot. Or I could, but it's going to take too long. But nonetheless, I mean, running backs are going for about what? Le'Veon Bell probably wants about $15 to $20 million a year, I guess you could say, for a running back, and that's pretty high, but he's worth it, I would say. So, I mean, there's a bunch of teams out here with cap space that go out and pay running backs that much money. I mean, teams like the Detroit Lions, who got $47 million in cap space. All right, so Le'Veon Bell has a bunch of suitors for him. So I say the Steelers either lock him up, and the Steelers really don't even have that much cap space, too. They have, I think they have the least amount of cap space in the league. So, I mean, they got to figure out a way to cut all that cap before they try and go pay some pay guy like Le'Veon Bell. And it's going to be tough for Pittsburgh. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to give him what he wants just because of how bad they are in cap space. So I got to figure that out. But like I said, I mean, if I had to put money in it somehow, some way, he's going to end up back in Pittsburgh. But I wouldn't put it past San Francisco, the Jets, or the Colts to try and bring him in and sign him. All right. Then you got a guy like Dion Lewis. Dion Lewis is not going to get Le'Veon Bell type money, all right? It's just not going to happen, okay? Listen, let me see right here. I did pull it up, and I was looking at the rookie or the running back salary numbers, cap numbers, or whatever for what their average. Devontae Freeman is the highest paid average running back as far as yearly salary goes at $8 million. So Le'Veon Bell, he is going to get a bunch of money. I think he is going to get around $15 million. Honestly, he does deserve that kind of money. But as far as guys like Dion Lewis, they're not going to be getting paid money like that. As far as guys like LaShawn McCoy or Devontae Freeman, he's probably going to be more in like the $5 million range. Guys like Mark Ingram, who making $4 million, Ezekiel that's currently making $6 million, so somewhere in between there. All right, where could he end up? Let's see. He can end up in any of the teams I just called right now, like the Jets, the Colts, even the 49ers. But I think the 49ers, if it's not Le'Veon Bell and it's not Saquon Barkley, then it's going to be Carlos Hyde coming back. So we'll be talking about him too. And I know he does want to come back too. I remember towards the end of the year with the 49ers, I can't remember which game it was after, but he did say, oh yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo's the real deal, and I would love to come back here and pretty much play for a Super Bowl with this team. So I think Carlos Hyde, let's talk about Carlos Hyde after we talk about Dion Lewis too. But Dion Lewis, like I said, Dion Lewis is a player who I could see fit in with the Lions. All right, go follow Matt Patricia, go play over there. All right, maybe a team like the Jets, possibly. Let's see. Because I don't really see Dion Lewis coming back to the Patriots because Patriots don't like to pay players, and I just think Bill Belichick really devalues running back because he knows he could put whoever he wants back there and it's gonna work. All right, so let's see. Maybe teams like there's not really too many truly running back needy teams that are gonna go after a guy like that. Maybe a team like Miami, if they don't think that Kenyon Drake can be the guy, but I don't really see that happening too much. Let's see who else. Maybe a team like the Seahawks can get a guy like Dion Lewis. That would be a nice little fit there. They finally get themselves a running back, someone to take the beating off of Russell Wilson or pretty much the entire offense off his shoulders a bit. Let's see. You got teams like pretty much like the Detroit Lions, Miami, what other team did I just name right now? The Seahawks, teams like let's see who else needs a running back. The Bucks could be a nice little fit for him there, and like the Jets, I guess those 4 teams are where you could see guys like Dion Lewis ending up. So maybe he can end up there, and I probably think it's going to be one of those four or five teams that I just named. So that's where I think he'll be ended up playing football. Right, then you got Carlos Hyde. Like I said, I think he's going to end up with the 49ers. All right, Carlos Hyde is a nice little running back. Okay, he's really his biggest problem as far as him being in the NFL so far has been that he hasn't been able to stay healthy too much. I think this year was the first year where he truly stayed healthy, and he's ended up splitting carries towards the end of the year with, Matt Breida, I think his name is. But I think that the 49ers would be smart to bring back Carlos Hyde because you're not going to have to pay him a bunch of money, all right? I'm sure he's going to come back, and he's not going to be demanding a bunch of money by anyone else, too, because like I said, just running backs besides guys like Le'Veon Bell are not going to be high-paid players like guys like Devontae Freeman or anything like that. All right, so you bring back Carlos Hyde, and that's perfect for Jimmy Garoppolo there, okay? Because like I said, we know Carlos Hyde has ability, all right? That's no question at all. All right, he's never had a strong offensive line since he's been there in San Francisco. All right, he pretty much came with the offensive line that left, or pretty much that was there once Frank Warren and all those other guys left and retired away. But nonetheless, now they're starting to get better at the line. All right, they're going to spend some of the draft I would expect on the line. So you bring back a guy like Carlos Hyde. That's a veteran running back right there with a young quarterback. So really, you don't need Jimmy Garoppolo to go out and do everything for that offense. All right, you can have a guy like Carlos Hyde out there, and he's going to do well. Carlos Hyde is a good running back. It's no secret. So, as far as him ending up back with the 49ers, I think that's what's gonna happen. But like I said, the usual suspects for teams who need running backs are teams like the Jets, the Colts, and all those guys. So like I said, the Jets, the Colts, the Bucks, those are the teams right there. The Lions that need running backs and teams that can afford to pay for some like Carlos Hyde or even Dion Lewis. So that's where those guys could end up. Like I said, if I had to put money on it, then I'd say that Carlos Hyde is ending up back with the 49ers. Okay, let's see what else do we got. We got Isaiah Crowell. Isaiah Crowell has been a bit of a weird running back, right? Had one solid season with Cleveland, and ever since then, pretty much you've been waiting for him to do the same, okay? And last year pretty much was supposed to be the year, Isaiah Crowell is going to break out, he's going to have a really good year, and he was just pretty much a disappointment, all right? Isaiah Crowell is probably going to get maybe around $4 million a year, if that right there. $4 million is the max. Maybe you could pay him in the range of Dion Lewis, around 4 to 5. I think Carlos Hyde is more of a guy that gets $6 to $7 million. All right, that's where Le'Veon Bell. It's going to be Le'Veon Bell's contract is going to be interesting, okay? Because he wants to get paid, and he says he knows what he's worth. All right, Le'Veon Bell, as far as running backs getting paid, could reset the market and pretty much set a new precedent for how running backs are going to get paid. All right, you see it with a guy like John Gruden getting paid for the head coaching job, 10 years, $100 million. That's going to change how head coaches get paid from now on, all right? You're going to see guys like John Harbaugh, who could possibly leave the Ravens after this year if he didn't make the playoffs, want a bunch of money like that, all right? That's just how the NFL goes, okay? Same way like with Jimmy Garoppolo getting paid all that money, right? He's getting 27.5. That's going to be like the average right there for quarterbacks who are good and want to get paid. You're going to see guys like Kirk Cousins get more than that. Drew Brees possibly get more than that. Like I said, I wouldn't do it, but he is. And then like I said, I didn't even mention Aaron Rodgers earlier. He's going to get an extension within the next couple of years, and he's going to get anywhere from 30 to 35 million most likely. So I mean, that's just how the market goes. Like I said, guys like Isaiah Crowell, I mean, the average really is around 4 million for average running backs, I guess you could say. So I mean, above average running backs, I wouldn't be that harsh about Isaiah Crowell, but that's probably where he's going to get paid. Like I said, Le'Veon Bell eventually though could change it because he's going to get anywhere from 10 to 15 million, I think. All right. If I'm Le'Veon Bell, like Le'Veon Bell's already said, he's already got all the money he needs. Now he's just trying to cash out even more. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it all ends up there. But like I said, Isaiah Crowell could end up probably with a team like the Colts if I had to make a pick there. I mean, I don't think he's going back to Cleveland because I think they're going to be taking Saquon Barkley. As for Rex Burkhead, that's a guy who I can see end up back in New England. Bill Belichick likes those kind of running backs who could run the ball, catch the ball at the backfield, and block too. He can pretty much do everything that he's asked to. So I just see him getting back in New England. He's not going to get paid a bunch of money or anything like that, but he's going to be happy just to be back with a team like that. All right, then you got Jerick McKinnon. I could see him just resigning, or actually no, because I forgot they got Latavius Murray. All right, so Jerick McKinnon, I don't see him ending back with the Vikings. Probably he's going to be like a guy that ends up with a team like the Seahawks. He's going to be one of those running backs that goes to fill in since they don't want to pay him. All right, so it's a guy like Jerick McKinnon could end up, but that's pretty much how the rest of the running backs that I'm naming are. Like guys like Alfred Morris. I mean, Alfred Morris was pretty solid this season, actually, if you think about it. I mean, but no one, like I said, running backs are just thought of so like low that they're really never going to have too many options for them. Like there's not too much value around the running back position. All right, guys like Jeremy Hill, free agent, LeGarrette Blount. If I'm the Eagles, I'd bring back LeGarrette Blount for another year, I say. I mean, the guy had a specific job to do with that team, and I say you just bring him back and have him do that job too, because obviously they're probably going to have J.J. probably become the featured back now. He's going to have a full offseason to work with them, as they should, but like LeGarrette Blount is solid for those 3rd and 1 goal line type of situations there, but I mean, you could have J.J. there also, so I'm not really sure what's out there for LeGarrette Blount besides Philly, honestly. Then Thomas Rawls, he's a restricted free agent, and I see him ending up back with the Seahawks. The dude's been injury prone for a while, and I don't really see too many teams offering him that much money for him, probably around $2 to $3 million a year for him. So I think the Seahawks just match it and bring him back. As for Orleans Darkwa, probably the final guy we're going to talk about for this segment. I mean, that's possibly a guy, if the Giants don't end up drafting Saquon Barkley with that number 2 pick, he probably could end up with the Giants. I mean, he did well there, averaged, I think it was around 4.3 yards a carry there with a bad offensive line. So, I mean, he did a job there. And plus, like I said, the offense is going to be a whole lot better than what it was now that they got Pat Shurmur out there. So, I mean, Orleans Darkwa could end up back with the Giants. And as for the rest, guys like Jamal Charles, Christine Michael, Mike Davis, I mean, Charles Sims, those are all guys that are going to be training camp bodies. Maybe some of them can make it in as possibly a backup running back or a 3rd running back on a team. But, I mean, there's really not too much to look out for out there. So that's all I got to say about that. That's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about the receivers, probably talk about tight ends a bit, and pretty much anything else going on in the world of football. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
talked about the top free agent quarterbacks, talked about the free agent running backs, what they could get, what they could end up with. Talked about Jimmy Garoppolo getting his deal in the first segment. And then to wrap up today's show, we're pretty much just going to be talking about the top free agent wide receivers, couple of top tight ends, and then pretty much anything else that comes to mind as far as the sport of football goes, all right? I mean, it's just now it's the off season. We pretty much gotta fight through it till August? I guess till training camp in July maybe. So we'll see about all that. I mean, we're gonna mention as far as like Richard Sherman because he says he expects to be back with the Seahawks. All right, so we'll see about all that. But first, let's talk about the top free agent wide receivers. All right, you got guys like Jarvis Landry, Josh Gordon, but we'll talk about him a little bit. Okay, Allen Robinson. Let's see. Sammy Watkins, Cameron Meredith, Terrell Pryor, Marquise Lee, Dante Moncrief, Paul Richardson, Mike Wallace, Eric Decker, Tyrell Williams. He's a restricted free agent, though. Guys like John Brown. I mean, the wide receiver market isn't really too popular. It's not really something that's going to be, not really something that you're going to really be looking forward to or anything like that. All right, like I said, Jarvis Landry, he's trying to work out a deal with the Dolphins as they are with him, but they're still stuck on pretty much the yearly salary that he's going to be getting. Josh Gordon, all right, so Josh Gordon, he technically is going to become a free agent, but there is something that the Browns could use on him. It's called they could tag him with the exclusive rights free agent, all right? It's because he hasn't played like 3 pretty much full seasons, I guess you could say, since he got suspended a whole bunch of times. So they could use that, pay him around $700,000 for 1 year and keep him then. And that's pretty much what I expect the Browns to do. I don't expect them to let him walk or anything like that. They'd be crazy to do that, especially with trying to draft a quarterback or even signing a guy like Kirk Cousins. I mean, you're not getting Kirk Cousins if he knows that you're letting Josh Gordon go. And I mean, that'd be doing a disservice too to those rookie quarterbacks you're going to be you're going to be drafting if you let a guy like Josh Gordon go. Also, I mean, they're going to have nowhere to throw to. I mean, you have Corey Coleman, but that dude pretty much can't stay healthy to save his life. So, I mean, I don't expect Josh Gordon to go anywhere else. As for Jarvis Landry, though, all right. Miami could be dumb enough to let him walk. All right, they could be dumb enough to say, you know what, go ahead, go see what you're gonna get, and maybe they could try and pretty much see what he's worth, and then pay him that way, or they could do the smart thing and just give him anywhere from $13 to $14 million a year. All right. Again, I know people don't think he's worth that because he doesn't get too many yards. Nonetheless, in his first 4 seasons, he's had over 400 receptions. All right. He scores touchdowns, and he's a big-time player on third downs and pretty much big moments where you need him, all right? By far the best player on that Miami Dolphins offense and probably the best receiver they've had in decades, okay? Miami's always struggled at the receiver position, and when they got Landry, it pretty much looked like there was finally someone's fixed. All right, I don't understand how you're going to get a receiver like that and then let him go just because you want to be greedy and not pay him what he thinks he's worth, all right? Let me put it this way, okay? Like I said, let's see, I got the wide receivers right here. All right, so look at T.Y. Hilton. You got T.Y. Hilton, and let's see, where's Demaryius Thomas at? T.Y. Hilton and Demaryius Thomas, T.Y. Hilton's making 13, Demaryius Thomas is making 14, all right? Jarvis Landry had more catches, more touchdowns than both, and I think more yards also, okay? You can't pay a player what you think he's worth. You got to pay a player what the market says he's worth, okay? Guys like Pierre Garçon worth 9. I think Miami more puts him in the range with Doug Baldwin, all right, Keenan Allen. And let's see, I mean, Allen Hurns has a bad contract. That guy's making $10 million a year. I mean, good for him, but I can't believe Jacksonville's paying them that much. They kind of got swindled there. All right, guy like Des Bryant making $14 million there. Like I said, I think the Dolphins are thinking he's more of a Doug Baldwin, Keenan Allen type, paying him around that range. But I think he thinks he's more of a T.Y. Hilton, Des Bryant, Demaryius Thomas type. All right, like I say, you check the stats on the market, he is worth that. All right, Des Bryant really hasn't been much since Tony Romo left. All right, so I think that that's where Miami should pay him. Give him around $13 to $14 million. Again, I'm not sure if they're going to. They'll probably settle, honestly. I mean, I think they'll end up at 13. All right, it's a nice little compromise right there. But if they don't sign him, where does he end up? He ends up with a team like San Francisco. Maybe possibly a team like New England. I mean, if he ends up with New England, it's pretty much Wes Welker 2.0 for the Dolphins, all right? At one point, they had Wes Welker, all right? He was a good little player for them, but they didn't want to pay him or anything like that, so they let him walk, and then all of a sudden, we all know how that story ends, all right? He ends up in New England, wins a couple of titles, okay? Let's see who else needs receivers. I mean, let's see. Teams like the Panthers need receivers, Like I said, the 49ers need receivers. If he ends up on the 49ers, then that'd be like the number one receiver for Jimmy Garoppolo right there, all right? Obviously, Jarvis Landry's not a guy who goes deep or anything like that, but I think that more has to do with the fact that that Miami doesn't really run their offense that way. All right, so like if he ends up with a team like the San Francisco 49ers, let's see, who else needs receivers? I mean, there's not really too many receiver-needed teams. Maybe a team like the Chicago Bears or even Baltimore. Baltimore's a team that I saw that wanted him too. They tried trading for him at the deadline, but Miami said no. And so, I mean, teams like the 49ers, the Bears, why am I drawing a blank? 49ers, Bears, the Ravens, or even a team like the Patriots or somewhere where I could see Landry end up if Miami does not re-sign him, all right? So that's where he could end up. I think, like, I'm not sure really what they pay him to. I mean, I'm not really sure where they valued him. Some team is going to give him what he wants to. That's the thing. Some team is going to pay him $13 to $14 million a year, all right? That's no secret, all right? It's going to happen. Like I said, it's just how the market is, all right? And then you got guys like Allen Robinson, all right? I think that Allen Robinson could end up just being franchised by the Jaguars. I think that's what they're going to end up doing because Allen Hurns is not a guy who could become a number one receiver. You already got Marquise Lee, who's going to be a free agent also. So you got to have to bring back one of them. I think if you got to pick one, let's see. He tore his ACL. I think it was, he tore his ACL like right week one or at training camp, I think it was. Can't remember exactly. But nonetheless, I mean, it's either Marquise Lee or Allen Robinson. Do you want to take Allen Robinson on coming off a torn ACL injury, or do you want to see if Marquise Lee could turn into that number one receiver? All right, I think they're going to end up going with Allen Robinson just because you don't know what you got with Marquise Lee. With Allen Robinson, you at least know if he comes back the same, or not even the same, just comes back healthy and doesn't have any problems with his knee, he could be that number one receiver for you. So I think that's what they do. Plus, you got guys like Dede Westbrook, Keenan Cole too, besides Allen Hurns, that could fill in as number 2 and number 3 guys. So you could pretty much be without Marquise Lee. All right, speaking of Marquise Lee, where he ends up, I mean, I think he'll end up as a number 2 receiver somewhere else. I mean, I'm not really sure. Maybe a team like Cincinnati, possibly. I know they got Brandon LaFell, but nonetheless, I mean, I will take Marquise Lee over him. And let's see what other teams probably need receivers this year. Let me see real quick. I mean, maybe you could see him end up on a team like the Denver Broncos if they don't want to re-sign Emmanuel Sanders, because I know Marquise Lee probably will end up coming cheaper than a guy like Emmanuel Sanders. So there's a couple of teams right there you could end up. Then you got guys like Sammy Watkins. I mean, there's not really a market much for a guy like Sammy Watkins. I mean, it was a disappointment with the Rams. Really didn't do much with them. So, I mean, there's not really anything like out there for him. He's just a number 2 receiver. He's not going to get paid or anything like that. Then guys like Cameron Meredith, he's a restricted free agent. Maybe the Bears could bring him back. He did catch, I think. Oh, yeah, he was actually out. He was out. I got the stats mixed up from year to year. He was out this year with an ACL injury. So, I mean, you're not really sure what's going to end up with him. So, I mean, there's not really much of a market for that guy. Then you got guys like Terrell Pryor, right? Cleveland, he wasn't a 1,000-yard receiver with bad quarterback, but with Washington, it just really did not work out there, all right? I mean, even with a guy like Kirk Cousins, he had a better quarterback. Like I said, it just didn't work. And he's going to be a free agent. I don't see him heading back to Washington, but I'm not sure where he ends up, and I'm not sure how much money he gets. I think he's going to get another 1-year deal. All right, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not really sure. I mean, I got to look more into what team would end up with him, but he's not getting like a 4-year deal or anything like that. He's probably going to get another 1-year deal or maybe a 2-year deal with a team option possibly. So we'll see what happens to him. Like for Marquise Lee, I said you can end up with a team like Denver. All right. I don't see really him coming back to the Jaguars because of the fact that you got Allen Robinson coming back and you're already paying Allen Hurns. Let me see what's Allen Hurns currently getting right now. Let me see. Allen Hurns, he's getting paid till 2020, and he's getting paid $10 million a year. So I don't think Allen Hurns is going anywhere. So yeah, there's not really much of a place for Marquise Lee on the Jaguars, I think. So I'll probably end up with a team like the Denver Broncos or maybe somewhere else. Maybe you end up on a team like the Baltimore Ravens too. Mike Wallace. There's not really much for him. Been inconsistent. Was okay, I guess you could say, for the Ravens. But other than that, really not too much going on for him. Paul Richardson, he'll probably end up back with the Seahawks, I think. I really don't think he's going to end up anywhere else. And then for Eric Decker, guys like that, I mean, there's not really much of there's no really place for him. He's already 31. But he's 31. He really took a step back this year, too, with the Titans. So I really don't think there's not much of a market there. And then the rest are all pretty much just receivers that are fill-ins. I mean, Tyrell Williams, he's going to be a restricted free agent. He's 26 years old, caught 43 passes for 728 yards, 4 touchdowns. But, I mean, I think the Chargers will match any offer he'll get. He's not going to be getting paid big money or anything like that. So he'll probably end up back with the Chargers. Let's see, for tight ends, I mean, you got guys like Trey Burton from the from the Eagles, drew a blank there. All right, Zach Ertz is back up. I'm not really sure where he ends up. Maybe just comes back to Philly. Other than that, I mean, they're really, like I said, you could end up with a team like Seattle, maybe a Jets, or some other tight end team. Same with Jimmy Graham. I don't think he's coming back. Coming back to the Seahawks, maybe you can see him end up with a team like Miami who needs a tight end. Austin Seferian-Jenkins did play well with the Jets. I could see him ending up back there because, I mean, they're going to be drafting a quarterback, and he's a guy that Josh McCown looked for constantly, so he's pretty much like a security blanket type of guy there. All right, so that's pretty much, I mean, there's not really much to talk about tight ends. Like guys like Tyler Eifert, Antonio Gates, I mean, he's probably going to end up with the Chargers or whatever, but he's going to be a backup there. Guys like Virgil Green, Cameron Brake, he's a free agent, or restricted free agent, so I think Brake's just going to end up back with, actually, I'm not sure because you got O.J. Howard there, so I mean, they'll probably let him walk, and everyone else, I mean, pretty much is going to be guys who sign with teams in training camp and try and make their teams pretty much be fill-in type tight ends. So that's all I got to say about that. Then, like I said, talking about Richard Sherman a bit, he has no agent, but he expects to be back with the Seahawks, and I'm sure he'll end up back there too. I mean, I don't think there's much of a market value for a cornerback who tore his Achilles, so I see him ending back with the Seahawks, but I know it's a guy that's going to be want to get paid, so we'll see how it all ends up. But that's going to wrap it up for today's podcast. All right, today we talked about Jimmy Garoppolo and then pretty much talked about each position as far as free agents go. And we didn't talk about any of the defensive players. We'll probably move that to next week. And by the way, speaking of next week, the show is going to be getting moved to Tuesdays and Thursdays now that we're in the off season. All right. And so, yeah, we'll be back Tuesdays and Thursdays. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. Thanks for listening once again. We'll be back on Tuesday. Don't forget, so stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.